50 Cent breaks silence. Diddy and Justin Bieber's buried secrets exposed. There are stories the music industry spends millions to keep quiet. Stories where the most powerful figures are also the ones with the most to lose. And then there are the stories that survive lawsuits, NDAs, threats, and silence money. Stories that still find their way into the light. This is one of those stories. Tonight, we are not talking about a feud. We are talking about buried secrets, resurfaced footage, and a narrative that refuses to stay hidden. At the center are three names: 50 Cent, Sean Combs, known as Diddy, and Justin Bieber. For years, two of those names meant untouchable power. One meant a superstar who grew up in public. Today, all three mean something very different. Curtis James Jackson III, better known as 50 Cent, is not a saint and not a journalist. He is a rap icon, a mogul, a survivor of a near-fatal shooting, and a businessman who built an empire. He has his own motives, his own history, and his own feuds. But when he says, "This isn't about revenge. This is about making sure it can never happen again and making sure he can't come after me or mine," when it all comes out, the framing changes. This isn't performance. It's accountability. 50 Cent's campaign against Diddy was not impulsive. It was built on three calculated moves. First, he funded victims' legal teams, giving 7 individuals access to top-tier attorneys who could finally challenge the silence they had endured. Second, he blocked every potential business deal Diddy had lined up, ensuring there would be no comeback waiting once legal pressure lifted. And third, he armed the truth, compiling decades of testimonies, footage, and documents into what he calls a minefield. This wasn't revenge. It was architecture. Durable, institutional, and designed to detonate slowly over time. The most disturbing element of this story is not new footage but old footage seen through a new lens. Clips once dismissed as harmless celebrity fun now look incriminating. A teenager in rooms he should never have been in. A hand on a shoulder. A gathering without supervision. None of it fabricated. All of it documented, and all of it recontextualized. The question becomes, what were we really looking at, and why did no one say anything? Justin Bieber's name is the one that refuses to close. Discovered at 13, famous at 15, and thrust into Diddy's orbit during his most vulnerable years, Bieber's proximity raises unavoidable questions. He has never been accused of wrongdoing, but his presence in this narrative cannot be ignored. The footage of him with Diddy was once celebrated as proof of arrival. Today, it is evidence of exposure. His later struggles, erratic behavior, withdrawal, emotional breakdowns are not proof of anything specific, but they are reminders of what happens when a child is placed in environments designed for exploitation, not protection. The story widens further with Usher. Introduced to Diddy as a child, living in his home, shaped by proximity to power. Allegations of financial exploitation and psychological scars add to the disturbing pattern. What emerges is not isolated incidents but a system, a deliberate structure for identifying young talent, cultivating dependency, and ensuring silence. The industry's silence is now on trial. Diddy did not operate in secret. His parties were legendary, his business dealings public, his mentorships celebrated. So who knew? And what did knowing require? The uncomfortable truth is that executives, managers, and fellow artists calculated that silence was safer than accountability. This is where 50 Cent's role becomes pivotal. He is not neutral. He has motives. But he is the one who funded attorneys, closed exits, and compiled evidence. While others stayed quiet, he built something that could not be torn down. Whatever his reasons, the architecture he created serves truth, and truth was not being served by anyone else. Federal investigations continue. Civil litigation moves forward. Victims who once had no resources now have both. Old footage is being reviewed with new eyes. Diddy remains under scrutiny, his legal team fighting, but the silence that protected him for decades has been broken. And silence, once broken at this scale, does not return. Justin Bieber's name will keep resurfacing. Not because he is guilty, but because his story is central to understanding how a system operates, how it identifies targets, ensures compliance, and turns talent into control. And 50 Cent will keep pushing. Not because he is a hero, but because the minefield he built is still detonating, exactly as designed. The warning signs were always there. They were filmed. They were archived. They were laughed off. Today, they're being replayed, reframed, and finally taken seriously.
This is not the end.
This is the part where it finally begins.